Come on now. Come on, dude. All right. All right. All right, guys. So I'm gonna wait for a few other people to get to come in. I got an announcement to make. Uh, gonna be some changes to this channel. So if when you come in, let me know who you are so I can give you a shout out. So I kind of have back here also whoever's on here, as you can see, one of the reasons why I'm like I'll no longer be covering boxing. So these are just a couple of the reasons why I'm gonna no longer be covering boxing. So so happy New Year to you. So when you get in, let me know who you are so I can give you a shout out. Let's see where we're at as far as this is concerned. What's up, Chuck? You hear me pretty good, Chuck? No West Fly Zone. What's up, brother? Happy New Year. Oh dang. We got we got a lot of people on here. Shout out Diddy. Yeah, so right here, man. So happy New Year, man. I'm like real surprised, man. I got this many people on here, but hey, God bless you. So thank you for coming in. So in this video, and I have a number right here. You're more than welcome to call in. We're gonna put you on speaker so that everyone can hear you. But we're gonna talk about some of these things, man, regarding boxing. You said Diddy told you about this stream. Sweet. Good to know, man. Good to know. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it, man. As I mentioned to you guys before, this channel, I may occasionally bring up something about. I may occasionally bring up something about boxing, but I won't be actual like where over the years, both times where I had this channel. So so both yeah, man, I know. Like who is this person? I never seen this person before. But both times. So the first time when I had the channel, the first time when I had the channel from about what 20 what was it 2015 2014 up to like 2019 when I had the channel, we were dropping hot boxing content. Well, no, it was 2018. So like from like 2014 to like 2018. And thanks to you guys, man, we were up there, man. I think we were up to like 10,000 subscribers or something. It was pretty high, man. It was a pretty high number. I tried to relaunch the channel and wasn't nearly as successful as the previous channel. But tried to relaunch the channel and just yeah, yeah. You said about Google Plus. Yep, you're absolutely right. Because Google Plus is where I got a lot of my subscribers from. A lot of them follow us from our boxing communities in Google Plus. Because we had like we actually own about 3 boxing communities, and we were actually part about like we were actually part of, or we were moderators about 5 or 6. So so we were probably moderators for about 5 or 6. But we were dropping content. The content was great, and what ended up happening, man, is that it just seems as if after the Mayweather Pacquiao era, what's up, brother? I'm gonna give you a little bit of an explanation of what happened earlier. So we the channel was very successful, okay, and it seems like when the Mayweather Pacquiao era died, now keep that in mind. When when Mayweather Pacquiao happened, it just seemed as if across all across the you the we can still call it the YTBC, the YouTube boxing community. A lot of people's content just kind of like went down the drain, and that's really, I think that's part of why Black Fight Fan TV, why he's no longer really covering boxing content, because boxing is dead, man. Boxing is dead, and here's the reason why boxing is dead. The first reason that I have is lack of quality fighters. There is a serious lack of quality fighters. What was, especially in the United States, because in the United States, what do we have in the United States? In the United States, traditionally, Spirit of Justice says YouTube is dry all around. You say you got the cash cows fighting C tier competition. Let me do this first. Let me just give everyone a shout out first. Uh, so Chuck Distance, as always, thank you for showing up. Uh, Dookie Love, shout out to you. It's kind of hard to do that with. Spirit of Justice, the Sigma Empath, shout out to you. Um, so look, guys. So yeah. So when you look at the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, what did you have? You had fighters who were participating in the Olympics. They were participating in the Olympics. They were participating, in the Olympics, Olympic trials. These things were being televised, and these things were being followed by the American media. And that was because the United States had good quality amateur fighters. Okay, and so you can look all the way back. I mean, you can look all the way back to Floyd Patterson. Floyd Patterson got gold medal as a middleweight. You can look back to guys like Muhammad Ali. You can look back at guys like Smoking Joe Frazier. So you talk about the United States in 1960, 1964, 1968, gold medal in the heavyweight division. You could talk about the 72 Olympics. You could talk about the 76 Olympics. What was yeah, you can talk about the 72 Olympics. You can talk about the 76 did we participate in the 76 Olympics? But 72, 76 Olympics. And then, but you could talk about that. I mean, we had some, you could talk about the 88 Olympics, Roy Jones Jr., Riddick Bowe. You could talk about the 96, 92 Olympics, Oscar De La Hoya, Chris Bird. You could talk about the 96 Olympics, Fernando Vargas, Zahir Rahim, David Reed, Floyd Mayweather Jr., Antonio Tarver. I mean, you can talk about that. We had, and then you can even go to 2000 and 2004, 2000. You had people like Jermaine Taylor. 2004, you had got like the Darrell brothers. You had Andre Ward. Up to that point, you had and then Jermaine Taylor. Not only like Jermaine Taylor was like heavily hyped up. Bruce Gas, what's up, brother? How you doing? But it was hyped up, man. And then it seems as if after I want to say after the '96 Olympics, it's because I think Jermaine Taylor let a lot of people down because Jermaine Taylor was already also modeling for Everlast. He was a model for Everlast. Every time you picked up a Ring or KO magazine, you opened it up. Jermaine Taylor was there, and I'm like, who is this dude? I was thinking that he was just some random model, and then it was like, oh, that's Jermaine Taylor, and so then was able to see Jermaine Taylor in the Nationals, was able to see Jermaine Taylor in the Olympics. Not the greatest performance, but it was still he got a bronze medal. But you saw all these things, man. You saw all these things happen, and our media followed them. And you would think because our media is arguably a lot bigger and a lot more accessible than it used to be, you would think that we would be propping up our amateur fighters even more. But lately, just like with the NBA, remember how basketball used to be. Remember how basketball used to be. With basketball, you had guys that there was no TV, no internet, nobody really following them, and they still became, they were still McDonald's All Americans. There was magazines where you could look them up. You like if you was a basketball fan, you can go pick up certain magazines, even prep magazines, and these magazines will feature these players. They will talk about these players. These players would go to school in certain places, but they would stay in college. They would stay in college. And then they would even play in like US national teams or something like that. But they stayed in college. They stayed in college. They were under great coaching like Digger Phelps. They were under great coaches like Coach K, the guy from UNLV that chewed the towel, Dean Smith, Roy Williams. They were under these great coaching programs. Bobby Knight, Michael Jordan was coached not only by Dean Smith and Dean Smith's assistants, but Michael Jordan was also coached by Bobby Knight and a lot, and a few other renowned coaches while he was in like in college and in the Olympics. These guys will stay there, be under these really great coaching programs, and then they will go to the NBA draft. Now, here's the downside to it. The downside to it is that you did have players like Sam Bowie and a few other people. By the time they got out of college, they were kind of damaged goods, you know. So by the time they got out of college, went to the draft, they were kind of damaged goods. Now that was the downside of it, but it was kind of rare, right? We did see players we did still get to see great players. And some of those players who were in the first rounds, they were bust anyway. But it was something about college and also the Olympics that gave them their international experience. And Michael Jordan, when he was on the Olympic team, he played against the NBA players. So we were able to see these guys. We were able to see their skill level. These guys were coachable. They played team ball. They played roles. Today, you just have this hero ball. You have it where everybody is the man. And if you notice with the NBA, there's no dynasties anymore. There's people that win. There's people that win championships, but there's no dynasties. You have all of these players. They can't. The only way they can win a championship is if they just get a stacked team. And it's so hit and miss because these guys hit all these 3-pointers. It's like nobody's playing role-based basketball anymore. And so this is why the NBA is losing its ratings. But boxing is very similar. Boxing is very similar to the point with boxing, guys are not guys are fighting amateur fights, but guys aren't going to the Olympics. Guys aren't going to the Olympic trials. Guys aren't fighting for the Golden Glove championships. They're not doing that anymore. A lot of these dudes are just jumping right into the pros. And just like with the NBA, everybody is chasing bags today. Everyone's doing it. And it's hurting the quality of the sport. Boxing is supposed to be entertainment. It's entertainment for us. And it's no longer entertaining. It's no longer entertaining. And so let me go ahead and look at these comments right quick. Let me go ahead and look at these, acknowledge these comments. So Dookie Love says, "Sup, champ? Where you been? Keep up the good work. We have a community here." Yeah, there's something else I have to do, man. That I think is going to be a lot more helpful for people who follow my channel. Like I said, I'm going to be occasionally bringing up boxing, but this channel is not going to be dedicated to boxing anymore, man. First of all, I mean, to be honest, it's really not lucrative. It's really not lucrative. But then, secondly, I mean, how is this benefiting people in life, man? Boxing's not benefiting people in life. So I need to, and then also, man, I don't like. In order for me to follow boxing, and let me just be straight up with you. In order for me to follow boxing, I have to talk about people, and I have to talk bad about people. I don't want to do that. This is how in order for me to really talk about boxing, I have to be honest with you. I have to be honest with you about stuff. I have to be honest with you why I'm not feeling this particular fighter. And with some of these fighters, my feelings for them, I don't have strong feelings for these guys, man. Like a lot of these guys, I'm just like, man, this like I mean, it's a shame, man, where boxing has come to. Like today, back in the day, we followed a boxer, and you didn't know unless the mainstream media really made a big deal out of it what type of person that boxer actually was. We didn't know. And so we looked at guys like Mike Tyson. We looked at guys like Evander Holyfield. We looked at people like Muhammad Ali. We looked at people like Joe Frazier. All of these different guys. We didn't know Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Robinson. We didn't know about these dudes being wife beaters. We didn't know that until like after their careers were over, long over. We didn't know about that. And it was because their exploits in the ring overshadowed what they did in their personal lives. Today, these dudes' personal lives are overshadowing what they do in the ring. And it's because they're not doing anything in the ring worth following. So it's like when you talk about Devin Haney or when you talk about Tank Davis, the only thing to really talk about is that Tank Davis's girlfriend spit in his face. You know, that's the only thing. Like Tank Davis's girlfriend spit in his face, scratched him up, called the cops, and said that Tank assaulted her. The only thing you can talk about is Ryan Garcia leaving his wife for a porn star. Ryan Garcia using drugs, cheating against Devin Haney. The only thing you can talk about is Devin Haney's father really not being a good example to Devin Haney. That's the only thing you can talk about because these guys aren't fighting. That's the only thing to talk about. So let's sports in general is dead. The last bit of real sport we had was in. I agree. So early 2000, as a matter of fact, early 2000s was when I stopped following the NFL and I stopped following the NBA. So when I stopped following the NBA when LeBron made his decision. When LeBron made his decision, I predicted that the NBA was gonna like the NBA as a whole was gonna follow the suit of LeBron James. You even saw this in the 2004 Olympics. In the 2004 Olympics, they just put a team together and they thought that the talent alone was going to make them a juggernaut. The reason why the United States won the gold medal over the past couple of Olympics is because now everyone all around, even in Europe, everyone's playing NBA ball now because everyone wants to go into the NBA now. Like these foreign players, they want to go into the NBA. We never had a European player get drafted in the first round. That wasn't happening. It was rare. It was rare when it was happening. But now, man, they're number one picks. NBA is picking them over our college students, over our college players. That was unheard of. But now it's common that it's happening. And it's because the game has taken a turn for the worse. Um, you said it's too many alternatives to becoming a boxer nowadays. Yeah. Well, see, I can't totally agree with that because here's the thing. Mixed martial arts really like when you really think about MMA, they don't pay any like I'm gonna tell you guys, Dana White, the UFC, Daniel Cormier, and I don't understand why they do this, man, but they've been lying to people about how much these fighters been getting paid. Kamir, uh, uh, Khabib Nurmagomedov, they was trying to make it seem as if Khabib was getting paid got paid $100 million over his career. Man, Khabib didn't make that much during his career. He didn't make anywhere near that amount, man. He probably made like 3-5 million over his career as a whole. And then it's like, Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley made more. Like Tyron Woodley probably had like 20, 30 some MMA fights. Tyron Woodley made more money in that one Jake Paul fight than he made in his entire MMA career. According to him, he made more money. He made more money in that one Jake Paul one Jake Paul fight that he made his entire career. Anderson Silva. Let's talk about Anderson Silva, how much money he made in that Jake Paul fight compared to what he made in his entire career. So there's no alternatives. What you gonna do? The slap thing? And you even getting ripped off there. Dana White and the Fertitas had always had in their mind, there's an amount we think that a fighter should be making. Why do you think Francis Ngannou left the UFC? Francis Ngannou, who was the UFC heavyweight champion, he left because the most they were willing to pay him was $600,000. That was the most he was. That was the most they were willing to pay him. $600,000. Think about this. He has to pay his. He got to pay his manager. He got to pay his trainers. He got to pay the gym, the nutritionist. He has to pay, and then he has to pay taxes. So think about that. $600,000. George St. Pierre, $400,000. Nate Diaz, $250,000. And Conor McGregor wasn't getting paid like that. Conor McGregor is still living off that money he made off the Mayweather fight. And they're not getting no share of the pay-per-view revenue. So, yeah, man. So I hear what you're saying, but you know, I can't quite agree with that. He said, appreciate your channel covering. Oh, you talk about what's his Bruce Gas. Paul Williams, Jeff Lacey, Sergio Martinez, Miguel Cotto. Yeah, man. Those were some rivalries. But we need to go, we need to apologize to all of those guys who were giving us these great fights, but it was so many great fights at the time. It was like can't. Sometimes you felt like I can miss this fight. I can miss this fight right here, and I get back to it. You know, but I won't. It's not. It's not that way anymore. It's not that way anymore. Someone said we really need a fight club. He said, as good as Floyd was in the ring, I believe he destroyed the sport as well. You said there was always exhibition fights, but once Floyd fought Conor McGregor, there was a shift and change overnight. Now let me tell you this. You have to remember that. So I think Joe Louis fought a professional wrestler. I think Primo Carnera fought a professional wrestler. I think Archie Moore fought a professional wrestler. Muhammad Ali fought Antonio Inoki. I mean, you had professional boxers fighting non-boxers in exhibitions before. You've had that. So I don't. It was it. What Floyd did. Floyd. It was a bigger spectacle with Floyd, but there was exhibition fights long before Floyd. Man, it was exhibition fights long before him, and you had people like Anderson Silva who wanted to cross over into boxing, and Dana White wouldn't let him. You had people like Vitor Belfort who wanted to cross over into boxing, but Dana White wouldn't let him. It wasn't until way late in their careers where they were, and the reason why they wanted to do it because they knew boxing paid more money. They weren't getting paid money in the UFC. And another thing, man, was that Alistair Overeem was still fighting that K1. So because he wasn't making no money, exclusively in MMA. So the whole exhibition. I understand. I hear what you're saying, but the exhibition fights have been going on longer than what you think. The whole exhibition thing were people who were still actually active champions. Floyd was retired after the Berto fight. He was retired. So the McGregor fight, they knew that it was a money making machine. But the thing is like I said, people like Archie Moore, people like Joe Louis, those guys who tried it prior to that, Muhammad Ali with Antonio Inoki, the people who tried it prior to that. I remember Roy Jones, man. There was a guy who was a soap opera star who dabbled in boxing. He wanted to fight Roy Jones. So it's like the whole thing with the non-boxers wanting to fight boxers. And guys, and again, feel free to call in. Feel free to call in. But that's nothing new under the sun, so to speak. Okay? So let me go to another comment. So I naturally stopped covering boxing because it isn't entertaining no more. Too gimmicky. So all of these entertainers seem lame these days because they expose too much of personal lives. Yeah, and that you have these fighters. So we have lack of quality fighters, and we have lack of quality fights. So the reason why you have the exhibitions today, and here's what I could tell you: one of the things people got so mad about Floyd Mayweather. But remember, after Floyd Mayweather, you had Roy Jones Jr. versus Mike Tyson, and that's when Jake Paul and Logan Paul came out, and KSI, they came out doing their boxing matches. Had boxing been doing it right, we wouldn't have been having that issue. At what point were we like? At what point were we ever having exhibition matches? During the 2000s. I mean, really during the launch of the internet. You didn't have, or if you did have them, celebrity boxing matches. They didn't get attention like that. You did have celebrity boxing matches, but they weren't getting attention like that. I remember you had Sugar Shane Mosley fight Shaquille O'Neal. I think you had Oscar De La Hoya fight Shaquille O'Neal. You know, they didn't get that type of attention. You know why? Because boxing was giving us what we wanted. The fights that we wanted, boxing was giving them to us. They was making it happen. The reason why we're looking so much at these exhibition celebrity fights today is because boxing lacks quality fights. That's the reason why it's happening. That's the reason why we're getting it today. But then when boxing does do it, guess what? They're always on pay-per-view. It's too many pay-per-views. It's pay-per-views and we don't even know you. We don't even know who you are. When fighters fought on pay-per-view back in the day, we knew who they were. We knew who Mike Tyson was. We knew who Evander Holyfield was. We knew who George Foreman was. We knew who Riddick Bowe was. We knew who Oscar De La Hoya was. We knew who Felix Trinidad was. We knew who Sugar Shane Mosley was. We knew who Fernando Vargas was. We knew Ricardo Mayorga. We knew Arturo Gatti. We knew Juan Manuel Marquez. We knew Manny Pacquiao. We knew Eric Morales. We knew Marco Antonio Barrera. We knew those guys. We knew Jermaine Taylor. We knew Bernard Hopkins. We knew those guys. These dudes today, we don't know them. Back in the day, those dudes were international stars without the internet. Today, these dudes, they're local. They're locally known. Terrence Crawford can't fight outside of Omaha, Nebraska. No one knows him. Javante Tank Davis, no one knows him. That's why That's why Javante Tank Davis keeps fighting in the comfort of his own backyard. That's the reason why Anthony Joshua fights either in the UK or he fights in Saudi Arabia. No one knows him. No one knows him. You know why no one knows him? No one knows him because he's not a quality fighter. Don't want to fight nobody. Man, you have to put a gun to their head today to get them to fight one another. No rivalries that lead to actual fights. There's a lot of rivalries. So 2017, 2016, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder. 8 years. So from 2018 to 2024, there's been a lot of talk between the camps. There's been a lot of talk between the promoters. But no fight came about from that rivalry. I mean, you talk about one of the biggest rivalries in boxing history, arguably bigger than Lewis versus Riddick Bowe. But at least Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis fought in the Olympics. We have all of the we have We have rivalries over the internet, but they're not resulting in any fights. Do you guys agree with that? How long was you had Javante Tank Davis and Devin Haney? You had Ryan Garcia and Javante Tank Davis. That even took a while for a fight to come about. You have Vasil Lomachenko and Devin Haney. You have Vasil Lomachenko and Javante Tank Davis. No fight came about. Give me a second, guys. Let me turn this fan on. I got myself hot. You said the problem is that black fighters aren't allowed to have losses. Black fighters aren't taking the chances to get the losses. So I mean, it's like it's one of those things. It's like, well, you have to take a chance first. You have to take a chance first, and it doesn't help. So I know the Errol Spence Terrence Crawford thing was just very disappointing because it's like just to me personally, you may not agree with this, but to me personally, when Crawford finally decided to take the fight, Errol Spence was done. When Crawford finally decided to take the fight, like you knew Errol Spence wasn't the same fighter. Errol Spence had two major car accidents. One, the first accident, Errol Spence was ejected from his car going over 100 miles an hour. He was ejected out of his Ferrari. So if he was ejected out of his Ferrari, then to me, that means that he probably hit his head. He probably went right through the windshield. So he probably wasn't wearing a seatbelt, but he probably went right through his own windshield. How does something like that happen? And if you don't die, how does something like that? And you notice after that car accident, that's when you start hearing the slur in Errol Spence's speech. But then there was a second car accident where there was a head-on collision. There were some teenagers. I don't know if they ran a stoplight. I don't know if they ran a stop sign or a red light, but it was their fault. But they hit Errol Spence head on, right? And basically, Errol Spence, as a result of that, according to some reports, he had like post-traumatic stress disorder from that. But accompanied with Errol Spence was getting too big for the welterweight division. Accompanied with that, it was no way Errol Spence was going to beat Terrence Crawford in that fight. But you would be absolutely blind and deaf if you did not see the clear cognitive decline of Errol Spence when Crawford finally decided to fight him. You have Canelo Alvarez, David Benavidez. How long have we been asking for that fight? Canelo is about to fight Terrence Crawford. A 168-pound fighter is about to fight a guy who only had one fight at 154. Terrence Crawford, for the most part, he's a welterweight. You have a person that's a light heavyweight about to fight a welterweight. a welterweight that's pushing 40. That's what I'm talking about, man. That's what I'm talking about. Boxing is no longer watchable. Canelo Alvarez fought Jermell Charlo, this 168 pounder, former light heavyweight champion, fights a guy who had been fighting 154 his entire career. Didn't knock him out. He gets a decision, but he didn't knock him out. Canelo should have knocked Charlo out, but he didn't. Now he's about to fight Terrence Crawford. Lack of quality fights, no rivalries. And then it's nowhere to watch boxing anymore. Remember, you had HBO, you had Showtime, you had Fox Sports, you had ESPN, you had networks, you had accessible networks where you can watch boxing. You don't have that anymore. So somewhere where you can faithfully and consistently watch boxing. You don't have it no more. You don't have it. Oh, there's the zone, but it's like I'm not paying a service that much a month, and especially if you're not giving me the like, you're asking me to pay all this money, but then you're not delivering to me the fights that I want. DAZN's biggest star by far was Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua wasn't giving us the fights that we wanted. It's one of the major problems with boxing, man. It's one of the major problems. The guys are entitled. And there's a lot of guys out there also, you know, to me, when you mentioned how these black fighters can't lose, they're not allowed to take a loss. None of these fighters want to take a loss. None of them want to. All of these fighters today, they're all padding their records. Just like the NBA. The NBA is all about guys padding their stats. That's the reason why you're getting so many triple doubles. These triple doubles today don't mean anything. These guys that have these 50-point, 60-point games, it doesn't mean anything today. It doesn't mean anything. Dude, they were 60-point games, 55-point games, 50-point games, 40-point games. They were rare. And the reason why they were rare is because the quality of player was better. The defense was better. And people played team ball. But today it's like everyone's playing me ball, everyone playing hero ball. And today in boxing, man, it's like everyone's padding their stats. Triple G won in all these knockouts, 24 consecutive knockouts. You know, he won in all these knockouts. Okay, there you go. You got your knockouts, but what has it done to your status? What has it done for you as a fighter? It hasn't done anything for you. I kept telling folks years ago boxing was changing us into uncles. Now we know why they left the sport. Exactly. He says today's fighters lack charisma and character. 100% I agree. I can't stand a boring fighter at a press conference. Back in the day, they had words of battle in their heart, which sold the fight. Yeah, man, the ability to cut promos. Yeah, you say you say you still want to see Aaron Pryor versus Ray Leonard. So, yeah, I remember Todd Bridges versus Vanilla Ice, man. Vanilla Ice put it on Todd Bridges too. He put it on Todd. I remember what was it? Tanya Harding beat the brakes off of somebody, man. I can't remember who Tanya Harding fought, man. She beat the brakes off of somebody. Dude, Tanya Harding is an athlete. And she's from the trailer parks. Dale, you kind of late for the party, brother. I've been giving all these reasons. I've been talking about this man for almost an hour now. I remember when Willie D fought Melly Mel too, man. Melly Mel was jacked. Melly Mel was jacked, but Willie D kind of jacked too, man. But man, Willie D beat the mess out of him. He beat the mess out of he beat the mess out of Melly Mel, man. And Willie D was all right as a fighter. You know, he was all right. But yeah, I mean, he beat the but he beat Melly Mel, man, because Melly Mel just couldn't fight, man. Melly Mel couldn't fight at all. No, it's all good, Dale. It's all good, man. Thank you. But like I said, man, like this channel, I want to put on content that's more helpful to you guys. Boxing has become an absolute joke. But you got to think about this too. Like, look at what's happening to all sports. Look at what's happening in all sports. You know what sports are on the rise right now? The sports that are on the rise right now, as the NFL, the NBA, boxing, as those sports are declining, what's it's not much of an increase, but it's significant enough. But women's sports, the WNBA, women's college basketball, women's boxing, all of those are on the come up now. So it's like now maybe with the direction that the country is going right now, maybe that'll change. But yeah, man, right now, and I'm gonna tell you another thing. Let me just be honest with something. A lot of these YouTube boxing channels, especially YouTube boxing channels that has the black content creators, these black content creators are not holding these fighters accountable. These black content creators, they want to interview people like Deontay Wilder. They want to interview people like Devin Haney. They want to interview people like Bill Haney, but they don't want to hold these dudes accountable. You have to hold these dudes accountable, man. For real. It's like no, man. It's like in order for you to get support from the fans, man, you have to fight people. You have to be willing. You have to be willing to fight people. Yeah, man. You have a bunch of loud mouths today. I mean, that's the thing. Like they said the loudest wagons make the empty wagons make the most noise, and it's like you have a lot of empty wagons today, man. A lot of guys who just making a lot of noise, man. They don't want to fight, and they don't even want to fight each other. Ryan Garcia trolling, Devin Haney, but Ryan Garcia can't even fight anymore. And then De La Hoya said it would never be a rematch between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. So it's not that I would want to see it anyway, but I mean, this type of stuff that's happening in boxing, man. This type of stuff that's going on. I'm just tired of it. So yeah, lack of quality fighters. Like I said, Dale, we no longer have guys with amateur pedigree that have depth. When you have amateur pedigree, when you like think about this, Lennox Lewis went to the Olympics twice. Lennox Lewis went to the Olympics in 84 and he went in 88. Fighters aren't doing that anymore. Lack of quality fighters. When there's a lack of quality fighters, these fighters lack depth. So what you end up getting these fighters that are being carefully matched against opponents that's showing all of their strengths and none of their weaknesses. And so then they avoid the fighters that's going to exploit their weaknesses. They avoid those guys, which so happens to be the type of fights we want to see. So lack of quality fighters. Just like in the NBA, lack of quality basketball players. There's this channel called Man Down Sports, and he said something that I totally agree with. The NBA should have an MVP award, and they should have an Offensive Player of the Year award. They got a Defensive Player of the Year award, but they don't have an Offensive Player of the Year. They just have an MVP. An NBA player that is not two-sided, that is not a great offensive and defensive player, that player should not be MVP. If you're not showing anything on both sides of the court, so the type of guys that's been winning is Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic or whatever. I don't know if Luka's ever won an MVP, but those are the two guys. Those are like the two main guys everyone's talking about. But these dudes don't play defense. These guys don't play defense. Guys like Michael Jordan and guys like Kobe Bryant, people like Akeem Olajuwon, guys who were MVPs, they were great on both sides of the court. If you're going to get a Michael Jordan trophy, because I think the MVP trophy is a Michael Jordan trophy now. If you're going to get a Michael Jordan trophy, MVP trophy, you should be great on both sides of the court just like Jordan was. If you're not, then you shouldn't get chosen for that. John Stockton, all-time assist leader, but all-time steals leader. Akeem Olajuwon was great not only at scoring and not only at getting rebounds, but Akeem Olajuwon, also one of the all-time blocks leaders. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of the all-time blocks leaders. Great on both sides of the court. Those are the type of people that should get MVPs. Boxing, you have these players, you have these fighters that lack depth. And so a lot of these fighters, they get exposed. Or some of them want to stay undefeated to avoid exposure. That's why boxing lacks quality today. Anthony Joshua, as big as he is, don't want to fight big. He want to fight like a small fighter. He's not fast enough. He's not athletic enough to do it. So to avoid exposure, now one of the only reasons why he couldn't avoid exposure was because he was a champion. And because he was a unified champion. If he wanted to avoid exposure, he should have dropped the WBO belt so he wouldn't have had to fight Usyk. But Anthony Joshua, man, was a fighter that lacked depth, man. But people in the UK, man, thought that Anthony Joshua was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Deontay Wilder lacked depth. Deontay Wilder couldn't go to the body. Deontay Wilder didn't have any footwork at all. He didn't have any legs because he didn't do road work. All he had was that right hand. He had a decent jab, but all he had was that right hand. You smother that right hand. Deontay Wilder didn't have head movement. None of that stuff, man. He didn't have good head movement. He didn't keep his hands up high. None of that stuff. lacked depth, man. He lacked depth, but he was carefully matched against people that didn't expose his weaknesses. Till he fought Tyson Fury. Now, I do personally believe that when him and Fury fought each other those 3 times, I do personally believe that they took a lot out of each other, which is why Zhilei Zhang was able to beat him and why Joseph Parker was able to beat him. But Joseph Parker straight up exposed Deontay Wilder. He straight up exposed Deontay Wilder that Deontay Wilder is a horrible technical boxer. Horrible technical boxer. Um, I like T Street Controversy because he covers all fighters that don't get shine, unlike these other content creators. I say if you cover boxing, cover all and don't be a man fan. Too many men. Oh, man, I agree with that 100%. I agree with that. I agree with that. So Saudi Arabia was the final nail in the coffin. Yep. Because you have these fighters that's out for the bags, and Saudi Arabia is paying these big bags, which is why Deontay Wilder keeps taking return trips to Saudi Arabia and just taking L's, man, so he can get money. What do you think when people say Floyd ruined boxing? I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. I don't. Because look at Floyd's schedule. Especially like think about Floyd Mayweather's schedule. With his show when he came back to the sport of boxing. His schedule was his first fight was Juan Manuel Marquez, who was the number 2 pound for pound fighter in the world. And it was very common for lightweight fighters to come up and fight welterweight fighters. And Floyd wasn't a world champion at the time when he fought Marquez. It was a fight. It was a fight between 2 dudes. Marquez was a champion, and Marquez had been in some quality fights. Mayweather ain't fought in a while. So you would have thought that Mayweather would have had some ring rust. But Floyd whooped Marquez. So the first fight was against Marquez. The second fight was against Sugar Shane Mosley, who was coming off of a victory against Antonio Margarito. It's funny how people don't like after the fights happen. Now people want to talk about it. Now people want to try to talk about how they didn't think Shane Mosley was a good opponent, even though Brian Kenny had accused Mayweather of ducking Shane Mosley. So they was accusing Floyd of ducking Shane Mosley at first. So then there was Shane Mosley. Then there was Victor Ortiz. Victor Ortiz was welterweight WBC welterweight champion and was coming off a fight of the year against Andre Berto. But the only thing people want to mention was that loss to Marcos Maidana. But at that time, Victor Ortiz was WBC welterweight champion. And Floyd was the lineal welterweight champion because when him and Shane Mosley fought, they fought for the vacant lineal title. And so he fought, and the WBA wouldn't allow Sugar Shane to fight Floyd for that title that he took off of Margarito. So he fought Shane. It was for the vacant lineal championship. He fought Victor Ortiz, and they fought for the WBC belt. After he beat Victor Ortiz, that's when everyone wanted to start talking about Victor Ortiz was garbage. That's when they wanted to start talking about that. The only 2 champions at the time, I think, was I'm trying to remember who the only other. It was Manny Pacquiao, who didn't want to fight Floyd. It was Manny Pacquiao didn't want to fight Floyd at the time. Bob Arum didn't want Manny to fight Floyd at the time. And then I think IBF champion may have been Alexander. Yeah, I think at the time it was Alexander. But so you had Shane Mosley and Floyd. Then after Shane Mosley and Floyd, after Shane Mosley, you had Victor Ortiz. After Victor Ortiz was Miguel Cotto. Miguel Cotto, they were talking about him and Floyd fighting for years. They were even saying Floyd was ducking Miguel Cotto. So he and Miguel Cotto finally fought. It was good. It was a real good fight. It was Floyd's final fight with HBO. He got Larry Merchant fired, which is something that a lot of us wanted in the first place, because all Larry Merchant did all those years was hate on and be abusive towards black fighters. Will be abusive towards fighters, period, but particularly against black fighters. After Miguel Cotto, like I said, who's world champion. So Floyd Mayweather in 4 fights. So he fought the number 2 pound for his first fight was the number 2 pound for pound fighter. And I think Shane Mosley was on the pound for pound list at the time. But Shane Mosley was another world champion. Number 3, Victor Ortiz, world champion. Number 4, Miguel Cotto, world champion. But Floyd messed up boxing, though. Floyd Mayweather goes to Showtime. First fight coming to Showtime was Robert the Ghost Guerrero, which was a mandatory. It was a WBC mandatory. That was his first fight back. Second fight back, Canelo Alvarez. Next, Canelo Alvarez, up and coming fighter. Man, he beat Canelo so bad, man. They was trying to say, oh, I remember someone from Ring Magazine said Canelo was 19 when Floyd fought him, knowing Canelo was 23. Canelo was 23, Mayweather was 36. Mayweather was out his prime when he fought Canelo. 36 is considered out of your prime. Fights Canelo, then he fights 2 fights against Marcos Maidana. 2 really good fights against Marcos Maidana. Then he fights Manny Pacquiao. The first fight with Marcos Maidana was a unification bout. It was a unification bout. The fight against Canelo was a unification bout at 154. The fight against Maidana was a unification bout at 147. He gave Marcos Maidana a rematch. Then, after he gave Marcos Maidana the rematch, then he fights Manny Pacquiao in another unification fight. But Floyd ruined boxing, though. Like, think about this. Think about this dude's schedule. The reason why a lot of these black channels hate on, like, it's funny, man. These black channels, they want to pick and choose when a fighter is when a fighter is. So if I say something about Devin Haney right now, if I say something bad about Terrence Crawford, why you hating on another black man? Man, black people, man, we like crabs in the bucket. But then Floyd Mayweather, they'll be saying all types of crazy stuff about Mayweather. That's not crab in the bucket mentality. Yeah, man. A lot of these old black power channels, man, be doing that. They're hypocrites. And it's like they want to pick and like they have their choices on who are those black fighters they want to praise and who are the black fighters they want to put down. And so for that reason, I don't want to cover boxing, because also I really don't want to get into exposing a lot of these black channels that do that. I don't want to get into that, but it's a lot of black channels that do that. It's like, hold up. Hold up for a second. So you mean to tell me that Floyd Mayweather is bad for boxing and Terrence Crawford ain't? Look at Mayweather's schedule and compare it to Terrence Crawford's schedule. And it was a very reputable black channel that said Terrence Crawford was the greatest welterweight of all time. It was a reputable channel. Says if he beats Errol Spence, he'll be the greatest welterweight of all time. I'm like, what? I couldn't believe this person said this. But this is the type of stuff we're doing today. So yeah, man, like I said, I'm getting like, for this reason, This is why like I don't this is why I don't want to cover boxing. Because you also have boxing channels. They're really not boxing channels. They're channels that talk about other boxing channels. They get more views talking about a boxing channel than they do talking about boxing. Case in point, one of my highest viewed videos, and I think at that, I can't remember how many views I got on that video, but the highest viewed video I did when I was talking about Blue Blood Sports TV and how he was a heavy critic of Terrence Crawford, and to Blue Blood made a deal with what was it called? Uh, B, what was it called? That the channel where Terrence Crawford fought Avanesian. But yeah, it was like that was the most views I got. And I wasn't being derogatory towards BLK Prime, yeah. Like yeah, that was the most views I got. I had to talk about another YouTube channel in order for me to get the views. But it's like, and it's because it's nothing to talk about with boxing anymore. So yeah, Floyd absolutely not the reason why boxing. He's not guilty at all. He didn't do the exhibition. He didn't do the exhibition until after his career was over, after he retired. And then he did exhibitions, and you do the exhibitions because if people are like if people are still paying to see you fight, then you fight. But then these same YouTube channels was saying, why don't Floyd come back and fight a real fighter? Why won't he come back and fight Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence? Like, what? He don't have to. He don't have to. These, if these fighters were doing what they were supposed to have been doing, you ain't even got to worry about it. I wouldn't even be threatened by Mayweather. Like, I wouldn't even be bringing up an exhibition fight, which I don't anyway. But you wouldn't even have to bring, if boxers were doing what they were supposed to do, you would say, oh, yeah, Mayweather had an exhibition fight. Oh, he did? Oh, I didn't know that. Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, like, it was? He fought Jake Paul? I didn't know that. You wouldn't know. But Netflix made a big deal out of it. Notice how Netflix made a big deal out of Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. But no boxing promoter, PBC, Queensberry, Matchroom, Golden Boy Promotions, Top Rank, none of them, PBC, none of them signed a deal with Netflix. And what happened between Amazon Prime and PBC? What happened? Boxing sucks. It sucks now. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it. Remember PBC was supposed to have a deal with Amazon Prime, and they're supposed to have been showing all these fights. What happened? Where are the fights? One of the reasons why PBC lost their network deals was because PBC wasn't giving us quality fights. You have to come out. You have to come out swinging. If you want the views, you have to come out swinging. But no, it was like Errol Spence versus, man, who did they have, man? The only person who was really fighting somebody for PBC was Keith Thurman. He was the only person. Errol Spence come out, man. Like, what was the dude's name, man? Del Rio or something? Let me see, man. Let me check this out. So yeah. So when Errol Spence was fighting for PBC, this Negro, man, he fought like on PBC. On PBC, he fought Samuel Vargas, Phil LoGreco, Chris Van Heerden, Alejandro Barrera, Chris Algieri, Leonard Bundu, and I was like, what the heck, dude? When PBC did their big launch and they made Errol Spence one of the faces of PBC, all of those fights that I just mentioned, they were all on like network television. They were all on network television. And then he fought Chris. He fought Kell Brook on pay per view. Oh yeah, and then oh yeah, Carlos Ocampo. That's who it was, Carlos Ocampo. And then after Carlos Ocampo, he fought Mikey Garcia, and then he fought Sean Porter. But and then let me talk about Sean Porter. I remember Sean Porter when Sean Porter was fighting for PBC. Sean Porter, he fought, I think he fought Paul Malignaggi he fought Paul Malignaggi. This was before PBC launch. He fought Kell Brook, but then in March 2015, he fought this dude named Eric Bonet, or Eric spelled like bone. Eric Bonet. Then he fought Adrian Broner. That was a big fight. Then he fought Keith Thurman. I think Keith Thurman, I want to say Keith Thurman may have been on pay-per-view. But then there was like Andre Berto, there was Adrian Granados, but these dudes wanted, like PBC, Al Heyman expected for you to keep watching. And they weren't giving us quality fights. To be honest, the only person who was giving us quality fights at the time, and I think of all the people in the entire PBC, camp, stable, was Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman, he fought Leonard Bundu, he fought Robert the Ghost Guerrero, he fought Luis Collazo, he fought Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Josecito Lopez, and then Manny Pacquiao. Like he was fighting some really good quality fights up to that point. It's not happening no more, man. It's just not happening no more. Just not feeling boxing no more, man. All right, guys. So, like I said, I'll be dropping some new content pretty soon. I appreciate you guys for watching, man. All of you guys who came on the channel. No West Fly Zone. Let me see what you guys had to say right quick. What's your thoughts on Top Rank losing the ESPN contract? I'm not surprised at all because Top Rank cards on ESPN sucked. Remember what I was saying, man. What I was saying. Lack of quality fighters, lack of quality fights, no rivalries. Top rank within their own promotion. A lot of these places, even within their own promotion. Think about it. Think about it. Matchroom, Anthony Joshua versus Dillian White would have been a good rivalry. They didn't do anything with it. So even places within their own promotions, PBC had the deepest stable from 2014 to about 2020. There was no rivalries. Keith Thurman didn't fight Danny Garcia again. Sean Porter didn't fight Danny Garcia again. Errol Spence didn't fight Sean Porter again. You didn't need Terrence Crawford. You could just fight each other. They wouldn't do it. First of all, these niggas acting like they were scared of Spence. They were scared of him. Then when they finally do fight him, it's a good fight. Then they don't want a rematch. Spence thirsty after Crawford, who didn't want to fight him. No rivalries in boxing anymore. And you had all of these perfect opportunities for rivalries. No rivalries. Even within promotions. Top Rank didn't have any rivalries. You were just matching Terrence Crawford or Vasil Lomachenko or Mikey Garcia. You were matching them up against dudes who were overmatched. You were just gift wrapping these dudes' titles. You were just gift wrapping these dudes' titles, but there was no rivalries. Timothy Bradley would have been perfect for Terrence Crawford. After Tim Bradley versus Manny Pacquiao, Top Rank didn't have no more rivalries. Tim Bradley versus Manny Pacquiao, that's the last trilogy or multi-fight I remember for any promotion. Now you had Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz. That would have been a great rivalry. But Anthony Joshua just wanted his W back, and he wanted to get it the easy way, and then he was done. No more rivalries. That's what makes money in boxing. Rivalries. And back in the day, even when fighters got the brakes beat off of them by a guy, they would come back and somehow give you a compelling argument that make you like, man, I should watch this. It don't happen no more today. No rivalries. No quality fights, no quality fighters. One and done. Yeah, you can get your L, you can take a loss, but let's run this back. We made some good money right here. Let's run this back. Didn't want to do it. Take a couple more, man, then I'm done. Boxing has gone down. Money changed the game. It's not about the sport. It's about money. And so again, and you see that with everything. You see that with everything. You see that with college football, with this NIL stuff. The transfer portal is all messed up, and you have all these players chasing the bag. NBA, you have these players that are just chasing the bag, man, just chasing the bag, and then especially boxing. Like all these fighters, man, is like the promoters and the fighters. It's all about money to them. So, yeah, man. I mean, boxing is not worth covering no more. It's not worth covering. I don't like. It's even boxing channels that I don't even look at anymore. I don't even look at those boxing channels anymore. I'm still subscribed to them, but even when they come out with a video, I don't watch it. I used to always watch Boxing Ego. I used to always watch like Blood Boxing. Carcino don't even cover boxing no more, man. Carcino was a boxing channel. I started off with Dante's Boxing Nation. I don't even watch that no more. Into the Arena, T Street Controversy. I used to look at those. I don't even look at that no more. Blood Boxing, don't even look at it no more. None of it. Because it's nothing worth following anymore. But, like I said, man, very excited about the content, about the new content we'll be dropping. Stay tuned, man. But all of you guys, what do I think about the Charlo brothers? I feel bad for both of them. I especially feel bad for Jamal Charlo. Jamal Charlo seems to have a drinking problem. He also seems to have CTE, and it's very common for people with CTE to use alcohol, which is what Spence did as well. But you could clearly see with Jamel Charlo. Jamel Charlo is a young man that looked like an old man now, and it's because of the effects of the alcohol. So I feel bad for both of those brothers, man. I feel bad for them. Yeah, I feel really bad for them. So that's what I think about them. So yeah. But guys, I appreciate you guys for getting on here, man. I'm about to head out. See you guys around, man. All right, peace.